Hi, in today's live stream, we'll be discussing about the low back disc injuries. So, are you someone who has been struggling with the low back disc injury for quite some time and you have tried multiple stretches and techniques, but you're not able to get rid of the pain? In today's live stream, we will be talking about what exactly the low back disc injury is, what are the causes, symptoms, and how you need to treat it effectively. Okay, so before we dive in, if you want to get a free low back disc pain program, an exercise program which can help you get rid of the pain faster, come into word LBD. So if you come in the word LBD, you're going to get the link of the program which will help you fix the pain faster for long term. So this is one of the programs that you can start using today in order to get rid of the pain. So let's dive in and understand and what exactly the low back disc injury is. Now, before we get started, it's important to understand most of the disc injuries heal, okay, with right movement without undergoing surgery or taking complete bed rest. Yes, so you don't need to go undergo surgery or you don't need to do complete bed rest. Most of the disc pain heals if you do the right exercise, right movement. So be aware about that. So if you're not doing that, you may be missing the window, or you're probably doing the bed rest, or you're probably doing some wrong movements which are not helping you. So once you start doing the right movements and once you start doing the right exercises, you'll be able to heal it faster. So before we get started, let's understand the anatomy of the low back disc and what exactly happening in that area. So as you can see here, so as you can see here, so this is basically the disc. As you can see, I'll just zoom it out for you. So what you see here is called the spinal bones, is a spinal vertebra, and between each spinal bone we have a disc right here. Now as you can see, this is the disc which is slightly compressed compared to the disc which is above right here and the below. So these are the normal size of the disc versus like this disc is compressed in nature, and this typically happens in the case of low back disc injury. And we are going to discuss what are the causes for this injury to happen and why is it happening in your case. We're going to go into that. So let's first understand what exactly the disc injury is. Now as you can see, the normal person is having the spine, along with that there are the vertebrae here, and we in this space that you can see here we have the spinal cord that is running in the entire length of the spinal canal. Okay, yes, this is called the spinal canal through which the entire spinal cord runs, and we have nerves coming out on each side of the spine called the spinal nerves, and these are basically supplying the different parts of the thigh, leg, and the foot, and which is basically helping the muscles move and providing the nerve supply to those areas. Okay, so let's go and understand what exactly happening in this disc. Now your disc has two parts. Now if you see, your disc has two parts. The outer part of the disc called the nucleus pulposus, and inner part is called the outer part, sorry, is called the annulus fibrosus, and the inner part, which is the gel portion, called the nucleus pulposus. This nucleus pulposus, which is a gelatinous portion of the disc. So let me just draw out for you. So we have outer layer and we have an internal layer. Okay, so outer layer is called the annulus fibrosis, and the internal wall is called the nucleus pulposus. Okay, so this is the gel portion of the disc. When we say the term like the gel of the disc has oozed out of the place, we are talking about this part of the gelatinous portion of the disc. Usually, this disc is weaker on the outer lateral portion. When this outer lateral portion are weak for certain person, so there are chances that the center portion of the disc, which is called the nucleus pulposus, can bulge out. Okay, now before we get into what's exactly happening in this case, we're going to discuss what are the causes for this low back disc injury to happen. So if you are someone who has been spending too much of time sitting, or if you are someone who has been bending forward repeatedly without having the strength of the muscles around the core area, which we'll discuss later, and if you are someone who has been sitting in the wrong posture, like slouching all the time, just keeping the back hunch, so what you're doing is you're not able to maintain the normal arch in the spine. Okay, so if you see your spine is like a S shape. So if I draw, the neck is concave, the upper back is convex, the mid back is convex, and the lower back is concave. Now, when you're sitting in a wrong posture, instead of having the S-shaped posture, what you typically have is like called the C shape. In this C-shaped posture, this can happen again if you repeatedly keep bending forward, or if you're having the wrong posture, or if you are someone who has been sitting for too long. In all these three positions, we have a tendency that we can have this C curve in the spine instead of the S curve. Now, what this C cuff does is typically it tends to have a lot of backward pressure on the disc structures. Yes, so especially the lower back disc, which are more vulnerable to have the injury, we tend to have a lot of backward pressure on the disc because of having the C-shaped posture. And once you start working on improving the posture, automatically you start eradicating or you start eliminating the pain symptoms that you're feeling in the low back disc. Now, as we have discussed, like this is a compressed disc. In this case, the disc is kind of compressed. The height of the vertebra above and below has reduced. There is a less space between the two bones here. Now, these two bones have reduced pressure. So, what can happen with this is like again, since the disc has come is bulging backwards, as you can see, compared to the disc above. So, if you see the disc is finishing here versus this disc is having the bulge outside like this. So what has happened is because of the perpetual backward pressure that is building up in this disc area, it's causing the gelatinous portion, which is the nucleus pulposus portion, to bulge out in the backward direction. And when it starts bulging out, we have a lot of structures that can be compressed, that can be have some compromise because of this position. So we have a spinal cord running in the spinal canal. So there are good chances that this disc can compromise the spinal cord. It can compress the part of the spinal cord, or maybe the nerve exiting from the spinal cord can be compressed. So we need to understand and we need to be aware about this. Secondly, it can also cause instability. Why? Because again, if you see the vertebra above and below have a lot of space, so this gap is maintained. So we have almost like a good gap here versus this gap is less. So because of this change, what will happen is there is going to be a lot more pressure on the segment above and below, because this segment of the bone has moved down, so it'll tend to have a lot more pressure building up around this area. And so does here as well, because this bone is kind of compressed downwards as well. All right, so this segment will also have a tendency, it'll have more pressure building up in this area. Now secondly, again we have the disc bulging out, so we can the disc can hit the surrounding structures such as ligaments, or it can cause the instability of the spine as well. So the ligaments, if they're not basically if your disc is pushing the ligaments backwards, so it can cause the pain, discomfort as well. At the same time, the space which is created at the space which is reduced at this segment can cause the spinal instability, and when this spinal instability is caused, it can cause the issues which are related to spinal instability, which are like a certain spasms that are coming in the lower back irrespective of your movement. So we'll get into the detail of that later, but let's I hope you got the you got to know what exactly the low back disc is, how does it look like, and what exactly happening here. Okay, now so first we're going to see what exactly happening in this case. So we understood that the low back disc pain, what exactly the low back disc pain is. And again, as I mentioned, most of the disc healing does need the right movement, but does not require the surgery or does not require complete bed rest as well. And this is called the sciatica. Why? Because again, if you have pain in the sciatica, so this segment of the bone will also have a tendency to bulge out as well. And fitting all these things, there are you could be the candidate who can have the disc pain and disc injury. Now, now we're going to discuss the symptoms of low back disc injury. Okay, so now we're going to discuss the symptoms of low back disc injury as well. So what are the symptoms that we need to look for when you're trying to fix a low back disc injury? So as you can see here, so we have the symptoms of low back disc injury such as, so if you have pain in the sitting position, when you're sitting in the low, when you're sitting and you're feeling the pain in the lower back, or if you have a pain which is shooting down the leg, so if you have a pain which is shooting down the leg, you can have the symptoms in the lower back, which can be traveling down from the back to the buttock region, back thigh, leg, or the foot. So you need to see that, and this is called the sciatica. Why? Because again, if your bulging disc is hitting one of the nerve, which is the main nerve in the lower back called the sciatic nerve, if it is getting compressed, then it can give you the pain traveling down as well. If you are someone who has been feeling the morning stiffness, when you wake up in the morning, you feel stiffness in the lower back. Again, this could also be the reason, and like there could be a possibility that you have a low back disc injury building up somewhere. If you have a difficulty standing or after sitting for a long time, so like again, when you're sitting and when you try to get up and you're not able to get up easily, or you feel the discomfort, you feel the stiffness, you feel the pain in the lower back, then there's a possibility that you have a low back disc injury as well. Okay, and if you have a tingling, numbness, burning sensation that is traveling from the lower back to the back, thigh, foot, and all, again, it could be sciatica, but again, this is a red flag as well, and can be ruled out further for the other conditions that we need to see. Okay, so now we are going to discuss what exactly the mistakes people make when they are trying to fix the low back disc injury. The first and the foremost thing that people do wrong or go wrong with is like they start doing bed rest. Yes, like you must have seen someone or you must have heard like people have been recommended this basically the complete bed rest. When you're doing a complete bed rest, now what's happening with that is, first of all, now when you are feeling stiff because of low back disc injury, your spine needs movement, your spine needs mobility, and if you're not doing that, you're going for a complete bed rest, you're just missing that picture, you're missing the window, and what will happen is the moment you go to start activity, you will feel quite weak. So whatever strength you had, that strength must have gone down even further. And then when you're going to start walking, you will have more discomfort in the lower back, and you may take a little longer to feel better. So make sure that you don't do the complete bed rest. Now, what do you need to do when you have the pain? Now, yes, you cannot do the all the movements, but you need to do the control movement. You need to do certain movements which will make you feel good, which will make you feel easy. So that's why it's important to understand what kind of activity you're doing when you have the low back disc injury. Okay, so the common mistakes people make is, again, people are making the mistake that either they are okay. So the common mistakes people make is like, again, either they are sitting for too long or either they are lying down having the bed rest. Both of them are wrong. So we need to understand that. All right. So now another common wrong things what people do is like, again, either you are relying too much on the medication. Yes, if you're someone who has been taking the painkiller, pain medicine just to feel comfortable, yes, initially you can take it. It's not like you should not be taking it, but the whole idea is do not rely on it solely. If you're just relying on the pain medication, you may, again, you're masking your symptoms. You probably may feel good for some time, but eventually, again, you're not getting any better because you're not doing any movement, which will actually make a difference in your pain. Okay, so that's why it's important to understand what you are doing and what exactly you need to be doing in order to fix the pain. And the another thing where people go wrong and make mistake with is doing the wrong stretches or wrong movements. So if you're doing the wrong stretches, for example, if you're feeling the stiffness in the back, and what I've seen most people do is they try to bend forward to feel like to open up the back, to feel like a stretch in the back. Now, then let's understand. We discussed like when you're bending forward, what you're doing is you're putting the more backward pressure on the disc. When the disc is already out, you're pushing the disc even further backwards. So that can create the pain, that can cause more pain as well. Okay, so that's why it's important to understand that you have to avoid that movement. If you're trying Another mistake people do is if you're not doing the exercise, if you're not working on the muscles, which is the core muscle, which helps in stabilizing your spine and can eventually get rid of the pain, then you need to start working on it. So make sure that you are not working on core exercise and you're not missing on your butt muscle exercises, which will help you get stronger on that area. But do you need to start with those exercises? Absolutely not. So I'm gonna again. If you want to understand what exactly the exercises you need to do and to get started with, comment the word LBD right in the comment box, and I'll be sending you the exercise program that is something you need to get started with in order to feel right and in order to feel comfortable. Start with those exercises slowly and gradually. You need to come to this exercise, not immediately. You don't have to start with these exercises. Okay, and second, the last but not the least, not addressing your daily habits, which is like not sitting in the good posture. If you're not having the good posture, not having the right technique of sitting properly, then you will have a problem. Or if you're basically lying down and having the bad mattress, which is like a very soft cushion mattress, which is not providing enough support to your core area, to your spine, then you may have the symptoms which can linger on for some time. Okay, that's why it's important to understand what you're doing, you know that. Okay, I hope you have understood. And now we're going to discuss what actually works when you have the low back disc injury and what exactly you need to do when you have the low back disc injury. So, So when you have the low back disc injury, it's important to understand. We need to know what exactly works when you have the low back disc injury. When you have the low back disc injuries, again, as I said, you don't need to start with the vigorous movements. You don't need to start with something which is more intense. You need to start with a simple extension form of exercises. Now, what extension is basically when you're bending forward, and when you're bending forward, it has a lot of backward pressure on the disc. So you need to reverse that. What you need to do now is you need to extend your spine. You extend your spine backwards. So just simply stand and just extend your spine. Place your hands on the lower back and extend your spine backwards. The moment you do that, you will start feeling comfortable. You will start feeling the difference in the symptoms. So if you are not feeling comfortable, just start with very, very gentle extension, not absolute pure extension where you go for going for the deep range. Start with a very, very light extension. If you start with this like few times a day, you'll start feeling better. Okay. Secondly, try and avoid sitting for too long. Yes, if you're sitting and if you have a lifestyle which involves sitting, try avoiding sitting for more than 30 to 45 minutes, and also listen to your body. So if your body doesn't feel right to sit right now, don't try to push yourself. Instead, try and stand and extend your spine, or try to go on your stomach and try to come on your elbows. So you just prop yourself on the elbows. So lift your body on the elbows, okay, like a half press position, or like a half Bhujangasana position. And once you do that, you'll start feeling slightly comfortable, slightly easy. Another important thing, again, that you should not be missing is basically try to reduce the inflammation in the lower back, because most of the disc injury comes with a lot of inflammation around that area. So you can use an ice pack, keep it under your back, because that will help you ease the tension which is there in the lower back because of the inflammation. Bring that inflammation down and you feel most comfortable. So place a cold pack under your back and you feel the difference. Another important thing is, again, you need to start with the extension form of exercise as said. So come on your back, stomach, and just prop your body on your, simply come on your elbow. The moment you come on your elbow, lie on your stomach, you'll start feeling and reducing the tension which is there in the lower back. Once you do that, you'll start feeling a lot better. So make sure that you start working on that, you start improving that. Okay. The secondly, again, once you start improving the symptoms and once you start feeling better, so you need to move to the other things. So once you feel better, you need to start working on improving your core strength slowly and gradually. Not right now, maybe after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on how you feel with the symptoms. And if you feel better, you can slowly and gradually get back to that. Okay. Now, third thing is try and correct your posture when you're sitting. Whenever you're sitting, make sure that like you're not sitting in the bad posture. You can take, or you can use basically a lumbar cushion under your low back, and just simply whenever you're sitting, just keep a small cushion under your low back so that you give some arch in the low back, and you start reducing the tension on that area. And the moment you do that, again, that will also start reducing the discomfort which is there with the forward bending position, with long sitting position. So once you do that, you'll start feeling slightly better. So make sure that you correct your posture, and again, I have heard to have you just coming automatically. It will not immediately. So you need to work posture, and will help you keep the posture upright. And if you do it that way, you'll be able to last longer holding the right posture without you reminding yourself or without struggling against that bad posture. That's very important. Secondly, daily movements are important. So you need to move daily. You need to start moving daily. If you're not moving daily, you're not basically so your spine is looking for the movement. The spine is looking for the mobility, because this inflammation is going to restrict a lot of movement, the spasm around that area. If you limit your movement completely, again, that's going to take longer for you to heal. And again, complete bed rest is not something you require. Try not to do it. If you have any questions related to this live stream, again, put that in the comment box below. And again, comment the word LBD if you want a exercise program to get started with the just get started with the start exercises, which are the beginner exercises for you to get started with. And if you want a full program, again, come in the word start, and I'm going to send you the link of the program, which is a week by week exercise program designed to fix the low back disc injury. It's a 6 weeks program that you can start doing in order to fix the low back disc injury for the long term. Okay, so comment the word LBD for the beginner program that you can get started with, and comment start. If you want the main program, which is a 6 weeks program, which is a full program, it goes week by week, which are where the exercises are progressively going more with the week by week. The exercise are getting more progressive, so that you can slowly and gradually push to the body and try to get your muscles stronger, so that you can prepare yourself to take better load of that area and heal that area much faster. Okay, last but not the least is like you need to gradually start loading the area. Okay, now you need to start loading your spine. It's not like you're taking the complete bed rest, and if you're taking the complete bed rest, again, as I said, it's not a recipe for healing, and actually you're going to make it worse, and this is going to delay the progress. Instead, what you should be doing is gradually start loading your spine. What I mean by loading is like once you feel better with the beginning exercise, the beginner exercise that you get started with, which again I have, which I'm giving you. If you come into what LBD, and once you start doing that exercise, for example, you feel better in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then you need to move to the next level. You can't just stay in that level and feel, and you can't stay in that level and feel okay. Now I'll be okay, or I'll be strong, or I will stay like that pain free all the time. No. So once you start feeling better, you need to move to the next level. You need to get your muscles more and more stronger, so that you are prepared. Your spine is prepared to take the load which is coming to that area. Okay. If your spine is not strong, even picking up the pencil can bring the disc bulge pain. Okay. So make sure that your spine is not that weak. And secondly, once it gets slightly better, make it stronger and stronger. So keep progressing to the next level. If you keep progressing to the next level, you will be far more prepared with whatever load that is going to come in this area. Not just the simple load is going to cause the pain or the disc injury. Okay. So again, if you have any questions related to this live stream, put that in the comment box below. And if you have any questions related to the low back disc injury, let me know again. And comment the word LBD for the free exercise program. And the moment you comment that, you'll get the link of the program right away. And if you want the full program, which is 6 weeks, week by week exercise program that can help you heal your low back disc injury faster, then comment the word start, and I'm going to send you the link of the program, the 6 weeks program, which is the part of our membership, where you will not get that program, you'll get a number of other programs in the part of the membership. So you get the full program. So come in the word start, I'm going to send you the full program link to get started. That's right. That's really it for today. And if you have any questions, let me know.